When it arrives, the Galaxy S23 will have some big shoes to fill, but we are confident that Samsung can pull it off with its new flagship phones. Among this year's releases, the Galaxy S22 and Galaxy S22 Plus felt a lot more iterative than innovative, but the Galaxy S22 Ultra had no such problem bringing the Galaxy Note back to life. Rumors about the Samsung Galaxy S23 are just starting to pick up, but we wanted to share what's out there. So here's what we have heard about the Galaxy S23 so far. This would fit with Samsung looking for alternative chipsets, even those from MediaTek rather than current partner Qualcomm. Obviously, none of these are 100% confirmation, but Samsung might still be interested in improving its Exynos brand. We'd welcome this, considering that the Exynos 2200 failed to meet our expectations, lagging behind the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 in our Galaxy S22 Plus benchmark tests. The only other thing we have heard is that Samsung might refer to the Galaxy S23 internally as Project Diamond. Previously, some thought this code name instead referred to a third foldable, but that's apparently not the case according to DSCC analysis Ross Young. There's a long time for Samsung to finalize some Galaxy S23 details, so here's what we are hoping to see. A post from famed Samsung leaker Exynos on Twitter claims that the Galaxy S23 Ultra will have a whopping 200 megapixel main camera, a holdover rumor from the earlier days of S22 speculation. This camera will supposedly be optimized for several years. We are not sure if that means Samsung plans to continually improve the camera over the years with software updates, or if the Korean phone maker will improve the 200 megapixel sensor following the S23 Ultra's launch. The Galaxy S22 launched in February, so we'd expect a similar timeline for the Galaxy S23. The Galaxy S21 series came out in January 2021, but Samsung had to make room for the Galaxy S21 FE, so it likely pushed back the S22's debut. For the Galaxy S23, that probably means an early 2023 appearance. Phone release windows are pretty predictable nowadays, and we don't expect Samsung to deviate it from this, though the coronavirus pandemic and chip shortages have created some delayed phone launches in recent memory. This camera rumor has gained additional believability since a new report says Samsung's working on a second-gen 200 megapixel sensor, and we will use it in the S23 if all goes to plan. However, another leak says it may not be second generation ISOCELL HP3 sensor Samsung goes for after all, but the older ISOCELL HP1. If you are curious as to what this sensor is capable of, Samsung has shown off a video of the 200 megapixel HP1 camera sensor in action by snapping a photo of a cat and then blowing up that images to fit a 20x into 22 meter canvas that was hung off the side of a building. It is hard to tell for sure in a YouTube video and not in person, but the image looked impressive. Detail appeared to be very crisp with individual cat hairs picked out. This is something even cameras on some of the best phones can struggle with due to their lower megapixel counts. Samsung's video definitely suggests that a 200 megapixel main camera could be the key to unlocking more out of its Galaxy phone photography. There's a long time for Samsung to finalize some Galaxy S23 details, so here's what we are hoping to see. Better battery life. The battery life on all three Galaxy S22 models is in a word disappointing. Even the Galaxy S22 Ultra with its 5000 mAh power pack couldn't last as long as phones like the OnePlus 10 Pro or iPhone 13 Pro Max. The mid-range Galaxy A53 doesn't have stellar battery life either. Samsung needs to up its game with battery life, shrinking the power packs from the Galaxy S21 to the Galaxy S22, and Galaxy S22 was not a wise decision and obviously hurt both phones in testing. Better model differentiations. Let's face it, the Galaxy S22 and Galaxy S22 Plus are pretty boring. They look just like the predecessors without many new features. The biggest changes involved improved nightography for low-light photos, but all of Samsung's efforts clearly went into the most expensive Galaxy. While understandable, we'd really like to see the Galaxy S23 and S23 get something that makes them more than iterative upgrades. Whether it's a fresh design, stronger cameras, or display refresh rates that actually dip to 10Hz, since the Galaxy S22 and Galaxy S22 Plus did in fact feature a minimum of 48Hz instead of the 10Hz Samsung initially advertised. We just don't want the Galaxy S23 and S23 Plus to bore us. The Galaxy S23 Ultra though should be anything but boring. Samsung executive Bro Taemoon may have just told us that the Ultra will be returning for the S23 lineup and that it isn't going to disappear anytime soon. Better cooling. It's no secret by now that the Samsung 8 Gen 1 chip runs hot. This causes it to hit throttling problems, especially in intense games. Samsung also got caught intentionally throttling some apps to preserve system performance. While the move ultimately ended up as a shady or downright heinous for some, it proved one point: the Galaxy S22 needed better cooling. The OnePlus 10 Pro features a new cooling system that makes the phone noticeably more comfortable after long gaming sessions than the Galaxy S22 Ultra. In my experience, we are not asking for something on the level of the best gaming phones, but the S22 can get really hot. We want to see the Galaxy S23 fix this. Snapdragon or better Exynos. Look, we are all for breaking Qualcomm's near monopoly on Android phones in some parts of the world. The strongest performers out of all the best Android phones use Snapdragon chips. While Apple Silicon is still miles ahead in some ways, Samsung's Exynos processors are inferior to Qualcomm in many others. We all had high hopes for the flagship Exynos 2200 with its AMD powered graphics, but the chip ultimately proved lackluster at best. Samsung either needs to figure out why Exynos chips lag behind Snapdragons, or it needs to give up and use Snapdragons everywhere. Continuous zoom. One problem with telephoto lenses on smartphones is that you either use the full optical zoom or get stuck with digital that fills in the gaps. Rumors surrounding the Galaxy S22 Ultra suggested that Samsung was going to introduce continuous zoom, where the phone could go from 1 to 10 and all the spots between smoothly. We want to see Samsung and introduce this on all three Galaxy S23 models, though we have a feeling the feature might an ultra exclusive if it ever materializes.